Hey, good morning, it's Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. If you've been a long-time viewer of my blog, you'll know that I'm a pretty positive guy. I walk the walk, talk the talk. I'm a true believer in real estate and what it can do for you in the long term. But every now and again, unfortunately, I don't like to do these, but the odd time I'll take the other side of the coin and post a little bit of a more negative blog, or one of my rants, as I like to call them. And this is no exception. If you've been watching my blog for a while, you know that I'm a big believer in buying quality real estate, quality dividend-paying stocks, and holding them for long periods of time. But I've also talked about the need to buy quality. Do your due diligence. Get a good realtor if you're looking to buy a property or an investment property especially. You should never be working with a realtor unless that realtor has intimate knowledge of the investment market and owns properties themselves. Otherwise, it's like buying a car from a guy who doesn't have a driver's license. But every now and again, I'll see some things that, I have to kind of shake my head at. And so this is one of them. And this goes back to my blogs that I've done over the years on location, and buying quality. Paying that little bit extra and buying a quality condo or a home or townhome. It will appreciate far better in the long term. So when I say that there's lots of opportunities in real estate, you should buy no matter what the market is and hold. It doesn't mean that you go out there and buy just anything. Don't just go out and buy the first unit you look at. Again, you have to really know the market well, or hire a realtor that can steer you in the right direction, who has a lot of experience. So here's a prime example, and I've been noticing this now for the last 8 to 10 months here. Now, I'm starting to notice some neighborhoods now getting a little ahead of themselves on pricing. And one of those neighborhoods, even though I love it and I do a lot of work in there, is Mount Pleasant, Vancouver East. Now, it's not so bad in the resale condo market, but lately I'm starting to see some new developments, some pre-sale developments, that in my opinion are getting ahead of themselves on pricing, yet people are still buying them, I have to point out. So I'm not going to give you the exact address on this. This is a small developer, it's a small boutique building, and I'm sure the building will be fine when it gets built. And another disclaimer here, I do not begrudge a developer or a marketing company putting up a boutique building in Mount Pleasant and charging $1,000 or $1,100 a square foot. Personally, I think that's getting a little high, and I think there's better opportunities elsewhere for tangible product. But hey, I sure don't begrudge them if they can get $1,100 per square foot for a unit way over in Mount Pleasant, way off Kingsway. More power to them. And they're obviously, as I've seen on the MLS recently, they are selling a few of these units already. So people are buying them. Now, this is a boutique building on East Broadway near the Kingsgate Mall. So if you know that, that's probably 3 blocks east of Kingsway, 4 or 5 blocks east of Main Street in Mount Pleasant, on Broadway, busy street. Now, Mount Pleasant is an area that's being gentrified. It's on the up for sure. But I'll give you the example here of what these prices are asking for these units. So there's a bunch of them that just hit the MLS last week. This is a 619 square foot unit with 1 parking. They're asking $728,900. $728,000 for 600 square foot, 1 bedroom east of Kingsway. Now, keep in mind that is a new development, so there's going to be GST on top of that, so that's another $36,000, and then your PTT be about another 13 grand. So we're talking a 600 square foot, just over 600 square foot, 1 bedroom, all in $780,000. And again, this is near the Kingsgate Mall. Hey, it's on the up, but this isn't Kitsilano, this isn't the West End, this isn't Cole Harbour. So I think that is getting a little ahead of itself, and I would advise people to be careful with those kind of prices. When you're paying $1,000, $1,100 now, this would come in at for Mount Pleasant. I would suggest you might want to start looking at some West Side neighborhoods. And you see, this trend has been going on for a while now. I can tell you 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, you could buy in Mount Pleasant concrete, pretty much a new building or 1 or 2 years old, for around $650 a square foot. About a year and a half ago, that went up to 800. Now, as you can see with this building on East Broadway, we're looking at well over $1,000 a square foot. Now, there always used to be a pretty big gap between Mount Pleasant and what you're getting on the west side neighborhoods, the more established neighborhoods. So West End, for instance, which in my opinion is the jewel of downtown. The unfortunate thing though with the West End, it's mostly rental stock, and you know, there's not a lot of inventory on the West End. There's not a lot of stratified condos. But we're talking, or Cole Harbour, Yaletown, Kitsilano, you know, there was always a pretty big gap between the price per square foot that you could buy there or compared to Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant was at a fairly substantial discount. You were getting a lot more bang for your dollar, and for good reason. The further east you go, let's face it, these neighborhoods are a little bit more rough and tumble. They're being gentrified. A lot more traffic, a lot busier streets. You're intermixed with light industrial. But that line now has blurred, and in some cases, you know, this is what happens with markets. It happens in the stock market with companies as well. They get a little ahead of themselves, and I think in some cases, at least with the new construction pre-sale stuff in Mount Pleasant, I think maybe it's getting a little ahead of itself. When you're paying $1,000 or $1,100 a square foot, you can get for not much more, another 10% more. You could get into Yaletown, West End, Kitsilano, Cole Harbour. It's not going to be brand new, but it's going to be 5, 6, 7-year-old building in good condition on a quieter street. And now we're on the west side of Vancouver, which tends to appreciate better than the east side. Although the east side of late has been on a rocket ride here. And as I say, that gap 3 years ago between, let's say, the West End to Mount Pleasant was about $350 or $400 a square foot. Now that gap is narrowed to maybe $100 a square foot. To me, on some of this stuff, I'd rather pay the extra $100 a square foot and be in the West End, be in a good building in Yaletown, Cole Harbour, you name it, Kitsilano, you could get into for $1,050, $1,100, $1,200 a square foot all day. So take your pick, whatever neighborhood you want, Canby, Oak Ridge. So be careful out there. And again, I don't begrudge the developers for charging this, but if you can get it, hey, more power to them. But I am starting to see maybe the prices, that gap narrowing a little bit too much now. And I'm starting to now, even though I love Mount Pleasant, I own units in Mount Pleasant, investment units, and I'm selling and listing in there all the time. It's not everything that's gotten completely out of whack, but some of this new stuff, pre-sale stuff, the prices they're asking when you're asking, you know, $780,000 for a one-bedroom, man, for $780,000, I could get your choice of any neighborhood you want on the west side, and in a relatively new concrete building with nice finishings on a much less busy street with not anywhere near the noise you're going to get over at Kingsway and Broadway. So be careful out there. You don't just want to buy anything. You got to do your homework. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.